Hey everybody, hey Darkstorm, hey Dio. So I don't think we even have to change the today command. Any work on abilities? Yeah, that was pretty much it. So maybe let's just jump right back in. So what is all this about? Coding a buff that can only be used for a certain number of times. Oh yeah. So the issue that we ran into is that passive abilities have this concept of on damage dealt, on damage taken, but effects don't have that. Yeah, and I want to see if I should split this. 30 seconds in and still too late for first. Darkstorm usually gets the afternoon ones, I'd say. Although I don't know if I have a record of this somewhere. I probably do. But yeah. But welcome on in. Yeah, so I think the big question that I have for this is, should we move those events to effect? Or should we also have events on effect? And I could see... I see a need for effect to have it. Effect should definitely have it. The question may be better framed as, should passive ability have this stuff? And let's go figure out what we're using it for, because maybe it shouldn't. I don't know. Here's unused ability. This is used for what? Mental swiftness, I think? Yep, that's it. It's only used for this. So if mental swiftness were just a permanent buff that you were given, then it could just be there. In fact, let's write down all of these. This only used by mental swiftness. Okay, what about the next one? On damage dealt. This is only used by execute. Okay, I'm noticing a pattern here. Only used by execute. And then the last one is only used by counterattack. Okay, it's entirely possible then to convert all of the passives into buffs and debuffs. Should we do that though? Well, what's the new thing that we're trying to add? We're trying to add a buff that's like reduce incoming damage by 50% for the next 3 damage sources. And yeah, this has to be an effect. Hey, Mudkip. All right, what does this mean though? This would mean that every passive needs to convert to a buff or debuff at the beginning of a fight. Hey, Callie. Welcome in. Good to see you again. Well, let's write down our options here. Option number 1 would be keep passives as they are and just add an event system for effects. Option number 2 would be to convert the current passives into effects at the beginning of a battle. Option number 3 is the misspell option and also mistype 3. What is option number 3? Oh, just add. Oh, no. We already have that. That's option number 1. Passes into effects at the beginning of the battle and migrate events to effects. Is there anything else we could do here? I think it's pretty much just that. It's either unify the systems in one direction or the other, and we unify them into effects, or we split these things up. Maybe like use the entity component system somehow. Make a component out of this stuff. I don't know. That's pretty much already effects. Those are effects though. All right, I'm leaning toward number 2. What's nice is that we don't have any changes right now that I want to actually save. So we can just go test this out. So how would we convert this into an effect at the beginning of the battle? I guess we do it the same way that we do for cleanse. Cleanse just exists to apply a buff at the beginning of battle to the attached source. This is how practically every passive would look though, isn't it? Almost to the point where maybe it should just have an ability ID associated with it. Or not an ability ID, an effect ID associated with it. Yeah, I don't see why not. That could be totally fine. We could make a child class of this that is passive ability that's really just an effect. And we call it that. Passive ability that is really just an effect. I'm kidding about the name, but I think this is what this represents. Maybe there's one other question. Do we have any other passive abilities that aren't the ones I just mentioned? Cleanse, counterattack, execute, mental swiftness. Yeah, every single one so far is just something that adds in an effect, right? And I guess that's just how we're framing this in the system. There's this concept of permanent buffs. Good name, very descriptive. I think it needs a few more words. I don't think it's descriptive enough. Maybe we throw in some hesitations in there like and Does this imply something is wrong with this system though? That I feel the need at the beginning of a battle to apply an effect based on a passive ability? Is that what these represent? Like counterattack isn't really a buff. It is a passive. It's a thing that happens. But in the battle, framing it that way lets it flow through the system. Yeah. Yeah, I'm inclined to say let's turn all of them into effects. It means that every passive ability really needs to also be an effect. It makes me wonder if the abilities even are needed. Oh, they probably are because the effects that we generate are going to be based on the level of the ability. And right now we just don't happen to be using it. But yeah, in base ability, we have this level. And so cleanse is going to potentially have some logic in here for how big of a buff is it. Well, maybe cleanse is a bad example. Well, maybe not. Maybe it has like a healing amount, and the healing amount goes up by your level. Although the effect could also just have a level in it. I think this is fine. Okay. I like this. I think I've convinced myself. So then here's what we have to do. We have to go make 3 different effects. So one is going to be for counterattack. One is going to be for execute. Okay, so counterattack buff equals 7. Execute buff. Oh, nice. It knows what I want. Well, look at that. Man, I definitely feel like the AI is better in C# than it is with GD script. So then each of these in its initialize is just going to add in this effect. To the point where I should refactor this, I'm going to write this down. I don't have my to-do list open. That's not it. Okay. Just checking to see if there's anything private that I just showed. No, there is not. And if there were, I would not have even said anything. But there definitely wasn't. So consider extending passive ability. Actually, maybe passive ability is always associated with an effect. Oh, no, wait. No, there is no way of doing this because of the level thing. Add effect, new cleanse buff. Okay, new. I'm so torn. I'm so torn on the developer experience here. I think this is probably fine though. So now we add in a counterattack buff, which doesn't even exist yet. And then that's where this is going to go. So now let's go over to that. Counterattack buff. Why does it keep happening? I must be pressing the wrong key. Yeah, I am. All right, so this is a buff that takes in a time, which is the maximum. Then what is this last thing? Proc amount. Proc amount shouldn't even matter. In fact, I should be able to turn that off. Yeah, what if we set that timed effect? Proc interval. Proc interval is just tested here. We could just set this to the maximum amount as well. Like it doesn't have procs. Okay. It kind of points to bad inheritance that I set up, but it's good enough for right now. So this will also say float.max value. That way we're not calling a proc function that isn't needed. And then we probably should differentiate between buff and permanent buff, but we can always do that later. Okay, hey developer. So proc goes away. This is not a thing. This was originally for cleanse, yeah. And what we do instead is we take this on damage taken and bump this over to here. Now it's not actually overriding anything because I need to move the entirety of this over to ability. Yeah. Or over to effect, I mean. Effect. So buffs or debuffs could have this. I don't see a problem with that. Is that good? What else are we missing? Base ability knockout? Sure. All right. How does counterattack buff look now? Yeah, looks good. We're not calling the right thing yet. I gotta split up 2 more of these. So get execute and mental swiftness switched over. And then make the battle run these events on effects, not passives. Which means a lot of moved code. But it shouldn't be too bad. I think this will take about 20 minutes probably. All right, so just like how we had counterattack buff, we need to save this as execute buff. And then, what's the last one? Mental swiftness buff. Okay, let's start with this one. Looks good. And we just copy this out of here. Oh, all this can go away? Yep, we put this here. All right, then just copy in the right usings. Is that everything? No, this too, link. Okay, and then execute. I gotta stop doing that. Execute buff. Hey Chippy, things are going well. We're almost done with the ability system. I've been working on it for probably like 9 or 10 hours so far, and we probably have another like 3 or so. And then I think we're maybe pretty good with this system. We won't have the abilities, but that's okay. We'll at least have the foundation and the way to make them all. Good old almost phase, yeah. Hey, Pige. Hey, disappointed Pige. Hey, Monatic Bind. Thanks for the resub. It's going well. I've been spending, I mean, I'm sure you just heard the answer, but I've been spending a lot of time on this whole gigantic list of just make the ability system. And as a result, I think our abilities are pretty decently easy to understand. They all have a use function, the active ones. We get some targets here. We just add a poison debuff to each of them. And that's that. And then the poison debuff knows how to act. And so now we're working on the passive ones. And these are a little bit weird. So like, imagine you saw this tooltip in the game, counterattack, 5% chance to counterattack when you take damage. So this is a passive ability, and the way we're getting it to work in the battle system is that we're converting this into an effect, so a buff in this case, i.e. a buff, at the beginning of battle. And then the effect is what's going to have this when you take damage event on it. So that's what I'm doing now, and I'm kind of just seeing, do I like this? Does this make sense? And I'm not totally done with that yet. Okay, so we have this stuff. I think that's working. Now we go over to battle system and check for, yeah, all this needs to be different now. Although there should only be 3 references to it, right? Yeah. So instead of call passive ability function for entity, we're gonna move this out of here. Is this even a thing anymore? I don't even think this is a thing. Yeah. Did I ever use this? No, it's literally just here. Okay, so we just copy paste these out of here. Or cut and paste into effect. No, into effects component. Yeah. Yeah. You put this here. And then all of the rest of these things should pretty much be the same. This just takes in an effect instead of passive ability. All right, so the entity is dead. Don't do anything. If the entity is alive, then get its effects component. And this should not be named the same way, but let's just keep the name for now. We can change that in a bit. Okay, then for each effect in effects, I don't even think we have anything special to do here, right? Just do a callback on it. Yeah. Yeah. Just a status in the same way that equipment effects or mid-combat buffs and debuffs are. Yeah, I was thinking like one way of doing that would be to have an inheritance structure like there's an effect, there's buff, debuff, and then there's like passive ability, I guess. And what I decided is I don't think that really makes sense, but I have it separate so it's not in that same inheritance structure. And that's what made me wonder, like, is there a reason for having them be separate? Desperately needed an entity component system for that. I see. Yeah. Yeah. Well, I guess if your code works in the end and it's performant, then it doesn't really matter too much. Well, no, I guess the developer experience matters too. You know, how hard is it to add a new effect or how hard is it to understand the system? But I think we've got this now. I think it's pretty much working. And then we just change this to be in the abilities component or effects component dot call passive. Yeah. And then these 3 would be effect. So this is an effect, this is an effect, and this is. I'd be pretty impressed if this just worked, but it should work. So now let's rename this. This is going to be call effect function for entity, I guess. And this is call effect function. Or maybe like invoke event. If I don't know, whatever. That's good enough. Well, those are those 2 to-do items over here. So let's test them out. What happened with that? There we go. All right, so we're going to give this character is going to, actually, let's give all the characters something. Let's give them all basic attack, mental swiftness. Sure, that's fine. Yeah. All right, so they'll all have a 20% chance to be able to use an ability another time. I don't know if this is going to be obvious enough. Is that style cop? It's error lens emitting what are probably style cop errors. So the only way we'll know if this works is if we actually see the text mental swiftness over here. And I don't see it. Oh, because I never did something. What did I forget? Initializing the entity? Conferring these buffs? What did I forget? Oh yeah, adding in the buffs. Okay, well, let's do that. Yeah, my bad. I forgot we needed initialize here. Actually, when you add an effect, it knows what the affected entity is. This could just be in the constructor, I suppose. Why didn't I put it in the constructor over here? Oh, this is a passive ability. That's why, because it doesn't exist like that. Okay, yeah, that's fine. Mental swiftness. So we just put this over here and we fix all these things. So many usings. All right, so mental swiftness buff, MSB, source. How do you have a dark mode in Google Docs? Yeah, it's Dark Reader. I've got a link to it here. What if I set HP very high and gave them all abilities? Yeah, there'd be a lot going on for sure. I think this should fix this bit. Yeah, Google Drive just released a dark mode. And I made sure to set that up. All right, so 20% chance. So we should see it pretty soon that it says mental swiftness over here. There we go. And when it does that, it should... Oh, it's... What? Why are those numbers so high? What? Oh, right, because I have it coded that mental swiftness gives you a power buff right now because I was testing something out and never removed this. Yeah. Whenever this shows up, you get 50 more damage that you do, which is why they started just murdering the enemies. Yeah. Okay, well, it's working. Spiking into mental swiftness. It's not going to work like that eventually. Now we got to do the same thing for the other two abilities. So this one is mental swiftness. Then we have execute. And this is going to apply the execute buff. All right, now we just apply this everywhere. Can we fix all? No, because they might have different usings. This isn't any faster, is it? No, it's not. And then the last one is counterattack. Wait, counterattack is done already? Oh. Okay. All right, let's test them out. Let's try, I wonder if this will work. Let's try counterattack and execute. So every time they attack me, it's going to do double the damage back to them. And then once they are at... Uh-oh. This isn't right. This isn't right at all. Uh-oh. This is supposed to be here. Yeah. Okay, every time they're at less than 50% life, they should just die. So let's try that out. Oh, there were also 13 debugger errors, which maybe I've fixed, maybe I haven't. All right, so they're the counterattacks. And once they're at less than 50% life, they just die. Yeah. Nice. It's working. Now, what were those errors? They're gone. Nice. Okay. This code. Do I dislike this code? So let's put this all together here. There's this. There is this. Where'd that tab go? Not here. And then there is this one. If you were to just look at this in isolation, it looks like, oh, come on. it looks like it's very easy to turn these into just a simple base function. Execute adds an execute buff. Counterattack adds a counterattack buff, and mental swiftness adds a mental swiftness buff. So they could all just have like this class live there. The problem is that we're not taking level into account. So eventually this execute buff is going to have like a chance to execute, and that's going to be based on the level of this ability. So maybe this is like level times 5 or something, and maybe this is level times 3, and maybe this one is, I don't know, I'm just making things up, right? Level times 6. And if they were all just multiplication, then okay, you could also refactor this out. But there'll probably be something that is a little bit more custom here, so that I guess we could, I think we'll just leave it for now. Seems like a lot of boilerplate. I think, like I said, I think we could simplify this, and we could have it just be like, give us an effect that you add at the beginning of battle. In which case, I suppose we'd make it look something like this: override effect, get effect, pretty much, and it takes in these things. And then it could figure out how to add this. That wouldn't be too bad. Hey, Hepta. But then if we need to add multiple effects, we wouldn't be able to do this. So I think I'm just going to leave it for now. Let's not get too hasty with abstractions here. Yeah. Did I test all of them? I tested mental swiftness, counterattack, and execute. And those are the only ones I modified, right? Yeah. Okay, let's review all of this. Looks good, looks good, looks good. Passive ability got rid of the events. Oh, those need to be gone. Yep. Yeah, if I can get grain controller abilities good in the long run. Not sure how complicated you want them to get. Yeah, well, for right now, the goal is just get abilities that you could envision in the game and have them be different categories entirely. So things like direct damage, direct heal, damage over time, area of effect, buffs, debuffs. And then at some point when we have all of these, we can just look and say, okay, I want to add a new ability that does, 6 direct damage and then has a chance to like spread to other enemies. And you'd say, okay, it's a direct damage thing that applies a debuff. And I know how to code the debuff now because we have examples of that. So that's what I'm hoping we get to, is just, do you have a frame of reference of how to do this? And I think we're pretty much there. That's what this entire task was supposed to represent over here. And it's gone pretty well so far. And then once we actually develop the classes that we want, that's when, what was this always 50%? No, it wasn't. Yeah, once we come up with the classes, I think then it becomes a balance thing. And balance is going to be, I don't know. It's going to be very, very tough. I'm not looking forward to that. All right, this is fine. This is also good. So passive ability just exists to put an effect onto the character. We're gonna have to get very, very careful with some of this, because when an entity dies, I need to make sure I don't remove these effects, and I at least have an idea of how we're gonna do that. Right now, it doesn't matter. There's no such thing as reviving. So when you're dead, you're dead. But when there is a thing as reviving, such thing as reviving, it's gonna be a problem. Just make everything overpowered in different ways. You still need to balance it though, right? Like, imagine if you had an ability that just always killed every single enemy you came across. You need to tone it down somehow. But what if by doing so, now the enemies get extra turns and they manage to kill you? And I don't know. There's planning on giving each ability to some file. Yeah. And that's a system we have right now. And I think it'll be a little bit better once we actually have like proper abilities. Because right now, here's what an ability file looks like. It's got a constructor and then it's got a use function. And its use function is usually pretty simple, right? Figure out its targets and then do something to that target. So this is totally fine. But eventually, abilities are going to need to check your passive abilities to see how much damage they should do. So imagine you have something like a chain lightning spell, and you have something like improved chain lightning, which is, whatever, plus 25% chance to do something. I don't know what. You need to get what chance this should have. So somewhere in here, we need like a, entity dot get skill level chain lightning in here. And that's what we had in Idle Ascendance, and I think that same system will work here. I think it'll be fine. That's why I'm glad that we prototyped everything. I think we can just check this in. So what do we do here? Oh, right. The whole point was to get it to where I could... Okay, I haven't coded the rest of that. But I guess all we did is we moved the passives into effects. So convert functionality, or I guess... change passive ability. It used to be that the passive ability had an event system, like on damage dealt, but then effects didn't have this system, so it would be hard to code a buff or debuff that would be removed after X uses. Now passive ability is essentially just a proxy for adding an effect at the beginning of a battle. Okay. I assume you're not going the procedural generation route for the world or dungeons. Not really, no. I think that battles in this game... Where's the picture I have? Yeah, so the dungeons that we have are just pretty much rooms of battles. And eventually, maybe there will be some option that you have in between battles of like, do you want to go up or down? And up is heal and down is like get more loot. But I don't know about that. So you could sort of argue that these could be procedurally generated of like which enemies you have, but it's not difficult procedural generation. It's mostly just like roll some enemies, put them in here. No world map. I don't think there's a need for a world map. I think it's going to be like a world menu almost, where you see something like forest level 1, $50 to go there. And you just click the button. Okay, I want to go here. Because the way that this is all going to work in the game is you'll have some like portal or something, some way of, maybe you click this and it pops up a menu of like, you're about to enter a dungeon. Where do you want to go and who do you want to bring? And then once you do that, it'll create a little dedicated section on the screen where now this is like the forest. So I don't think having a world map would make sense. If anything, it'd be more like the sort of Super Mario World style world map where you can see where the nodes are in relation to one another, but you're not actually traveling between. Well, I guess you are in Super Mario World. Anyway, I don't know. I don't think we're going to need a world map. All right, what's the next task? It was to actually code a buff that would end after three uses. And now we can, I just haven't. So I added in a damage mitigation buff. Yeah. And this was a timed version of it. It would last for 30 seconds. So I guess if we wanted this to last for a certain number of uses, that we would just override this. We add a sibling character, but the controls don't really work. Oh, man. Actually, I wonder if you gave this game to a little kid, how far they would get in the game. Because there aren't decisions that can make you lose in the game. They can, I guess, set you back a little bit. Was Tails coded or not? I still don't know. I think you could control Tails, right? Yeah, I'm pretty sure you could. All right, so let's just change this for now. So there is no initialize, it's just the constructor. And I think we can say like private int num hits left equals 3. Okay, so anytime you take damage, this would go down by 1. So on damage taken, we just override this. And we just say, well, it should just know what to do for us, right? Oh, interesting. Oh, very interesting. Source and target. Yeah, the target would always be this effect. So we don't need to pass this in any longer. We just need to know who did this to you. Well, whoops. Is that true? I think that's true. Battle system. How do we do this? Call effect. So the entity is passed in there. The entity is passed in there, and the entity is passed in there. Yeah. Well, I guess we can change that around. I'll write that down. Remove one entity from the effect functions since it's stored in the effect itself. That aside, all we really want to do here is num hits left minus minus. And then if num hits left is less than or equals 0, is this suppose it's true. There we go. Planning on showing this off at the local indies meetup at some point? No, I wasn't planning on it. I don't really ever plan on interacting with local meetups again. I just don't like them. And it's not to say that the meetups themselves are bad. I just it's not my scene, if that makes sense. And people have tried convincing me in the past, like, hey, you should go to them anyway. And I don't know, maybe it's a good idea and maybe I should just consider it. But I feel like I'd be going there to talk to a small number of people and like, hey, either give me feedback or give me help for my game or something. And I feel like I get that from Twitch. Let's see. So I think this will work. I don't really know how to test this. Oh, I have an idea. What if we just made this only happen like once? So this would be float dot max value. And I guess also float dot max value here too. Yeah, this is something I need to consider down at the bottom. That there are buffs that just last forever. There are effects that last forever that don't proc. Those are... I want some other way of representing that. All right, so this lasts forever, but nothing actually ever creates this. Is that right? Yeah, nothing creates this. So we just need to make it so that we have an attack. Let's just change stun attack for right now. We'll just make it so that it's going to be called stun attack, but it's not actually going to stun. It'll just add a mitigation buff to you. Deal damage is source first, right? Yeah, source. So we'll add it to you. What's the problem here? Oh, we got to pass in how much it increases your damage mitigation by. 50%. All right, and then this is going to last for 3 hits. Yeah. All right, so now let's set the cooldown of this to 50. And then I want to make it get used immediately. Let's set time elapsed. Oh, it's private. Let's force ready. Then we'll give a character. By the way, Monadic Bind, do you have experience doing that? Have you brought your game to a local meetup? What was I gonna do here? Damage mitigation. So basic stun attack. Basic stun attack. Except for I only want this on one character. Okay, let's try that out. So here's what should happen. My character should attack once, and then for the next 3 hits should take 50% damage. It's only this one. So this should take 5 damage per time, 3 times. Hasn't been hit yet. Come on. Okay, that is not 5. So it's already broken. Well, that was fun. Haven't been the one getting the feedback. Was thinking of doing so this month. Yeah, I'd love to hear how it goes. I think it'll be valuable. Don't get me wrong. But yeah, I'm curious exactly how valuable and kind of what you hear about. Hey, Zaphoid. So this didn't work. Why didn't it work? We are adding a buff to the current entity to mitigate damage. And then in here, we just set this to disposed. Oh, you know what? Nothing's even going to handle disposing this, will it? Yeah, nothing will handle disposing effects that should be disposed. Maybe whenever we iterate over the effect, we do that. I don't know. More of a networking thing. Most people just go to talk, not necessarily to get feedback. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I definitely think there's value in some of that. And I guess the way I've always looked at it is sort of what I said here, which is I feel like I get a lot of that through Twitch. It's different, of course, especially when you know someone's local. I'm not sure what I'm doing wrong here. So let's set a breakpoint here, and let's set a breakpoint here. And let's just start with that. So yeah, that got hit immediately. That's totally fine. This is hopefully the player character. I don't actually know for sure. And so we know for sure that's getting hit. Now we hit this button. And that's weird. This code is never being hit on damage taken. Huh. Yeah, huh. They do wrong there then. Well, the thing that should call it is this. Deal damage, go through each effect, and call this, yeah. And return. Otherwise, call this, go through each effect, call the callback. Yeah, that all looks fine to me. I don't see what's wrong here. Virtual on damage taken. On damage taken, yeah. Strange. I wonder. Yeah, what? Weird. I don't actually know. I don't know the problem for this. And even the damage mitigation didn't seem to work. It's like the entity doesn't even have this. But how could it not because of this right here? Add effect. Yeah. Strange. I don't know. Do you have to be hit first? It shouldn't be that way. Maybe. I just can't think of what I'm doing wrong here. Yeah. Is it hard to become a programmer? I don't think it's hard exactly, or at least not if you're learning the right way. If you try jumping in and doing something that's like way beyond your skill level, then it would probably feel like it's hard. But for I think a lot of people, it's learning how to think logically and and just building up your knowledge very slowly. I think that's the important part. So it's a very time consuming process, but if you like it, each part of that process generally feels pretty good. And I think there are things you do while you're programming that can be hard, but it's hard to say whether programming itself is hard. And I wonder if you'd ask me at various phases of my career what I would have said to that question. Yeah, I'm not sure what's going on right now. And hey, Diamond. Okay, well, let's add more breakpoints. So down here, we get the damage mitigation. If this is more than 0, let's break. Can we have conditional breakpoints? I don't know, actually. Yeah, we can. Okay. So when the damage mitigation percent is greater than 0, we'll break in. It's hard because a lot of the time you feel like an idiot. I think making good software is hard. But I think learning to program is not generally so bad. But maybe the two are inextricably linked. What is going on here? I don't even understand this. It's like this buff isn't being applied. I must have messed something else up. Maybe I know for sure that this code was being hit. So I know that we have an effect that is a damage mitigation percent buff. Did I create this in the wrong way or something? It's a buff. It has a right effect ID. If we just set this num hits left to like 99999 or whatever, does that change anything? Because this should not be, this shouldn't matter, especially because I have a breakpoint here and this is the only place it can lower itself. I don't know. All right, well, let's change some of this stuff and let's add a breakpoint. Can you add a breakpoint to a primary constructor? Do any of these lines work? No, you can't. Okay, that's fine. Is there something else I'm missing? What did I even change in this? This used to just be a tag and nothing created this anyway. Huh. Okay, well, let's set a breakpoint here. How do we even check this thing? How about we do this? This is a really weird way of doing what I want to do here. We're gonna get the abilities component, and if abilities dot count is greater than 0, and is there a get team function? No. So then we also need the team component. Okay, so if you're on the player team, then I want to set a breakpoint here. And I don't know, just gd.print, whatever. It doesn't matter what we print because I'm just doing this to test this. So the player should immediately break into that breakpoint, and they're not. Oh no, it's only when they get hit. There, they got hit. All right, so what do you have? What are your components? ECS.get component, effects component, entity. You better have an effect in there. You don't. What am I doing? I just have no idea right now. How did I mess this up? I think I know what it is though. Now that it's pointing to this thing being a problem. Something we call add effect here. I guess I should set a breakpoint there first. Yeah, about that is programming hard. I take it all back. It's super hard. My own karma has bitten me here. Oh my god, I put target on here. Oh my god. Oh, how did I not notice this though? Shouldn't I have seen a 5 show up somewhere? Oh, because none of my characters do damage. Oh, oh man, I would have seen this. Okay, yeah, this was just supposed to say entity. Yeah, all right. Well, there, it should be fixed now. So now I should see my character take 5 damage 3 times and then take 10 damage the rest of the battle. All right, there's 5. It's 1, 2, and come on, 3. Yep, perfect. All right, it worked. Don't know whether to start with a book, of course, a book, or maybe guides. I think any of those routes can be fine. I would say that instead of, like, if you think about it, you could say something like problem. I don't know Java. And what you've done, and I'm not saying this is a bad thing necessarily, but you've put another problem in front of it, which is like, I don't know how to learn Java. And so now you have to pick between whatever, courses, guides, books. I would just say, just pick whichever one is most easily accessible to you right now. So whatever's free and is online and seems reputable enough, and just give it a start. Because I don't think you're going to get into a position where they steer you so far down the wrong path where that's it, you're just kind of tainted forever. So if you find that whatever you pick at first, maybe you pick a book, you're like, oh, this is dry, I don't like this, then just switch to something else. And if you try something and you're like, ooh, I'm running into a ton of errors here, is this normal? Then you could switch again, or you could talk to other people and see if that's normal. All right, so we got that working. How is it that this is getting deleted now, I wonder? Oh, because they all happen to be timed effects. And because we check inside the effects themselves if they should be disposed. So this is somewhat coincidental. Process effects. We go through all the timed ones and check if they're disposed. We really need to go through all effects and check if they're disposed. Yeah. It just so happens that every single effect that can exist right now is a timed effect. Oh boy. So this shouldn't be here. This should just be effect. And technically what we should do here is iterate over all of these and have this code up here. But if we're going to do this anyway, then let's just... Oh wait, we can't do that all at once, can we? Okay, I think I'm going to change this. I think let's do this. Yeah. Effects to remove is going to be equal to ec.effects.where. Effect is disposed. This can just be an I read-only list. And then for each effect to remove them all, right? A local variable already exists with that. Yeah, because I'm going to delete this. Cannot implicitly convert an I enumerable to an I read-only list. We can say toList here. But actually, if we're going to do that, can't we just put this here? Yeah, although I guess if we're going to do that, let's just rename this to I enumerable. All right. I think that's better. What's my resolution? 1080p? Yeah. Tendency to follow for 30 to 50%. The rest I just wing it and go back later for reference. Honestly, if it works, it works. Yeah. And how you measure whether it works is based on whatever you're trying to do, right? Could just be having fun, in which case that's a very easy bar to hit sometimes. Could be to see, do you exhaustively know the material, in which case probably you would need to go back to it. Why am I using VS Code and not another ID like Rider? I just don't see much of a need. I think I know of some things that Rider would be better at. Rider would auto fix C sharp better than VS Code would. So for sure in that way it would be better. Is it better in a lot of other ways? I don't know. That's at least one gap I know is there. Unfortunately, there's the free trial for Rider, I think is only like 30 days. And switching to it is not as simple as like just boot up the new editor and you're done. Like presumably I want to be as productive as I am in VS Code. So there's a whole configuration hour or 2 hours or something that needs to happen. And then every time I run into a shortcut where I'm like, oh, I don't know how to do that. I need to go figure out how to do that. And yeah, I just don't feel like it's worth it for right now. Okay, so this way we're removing all effects no matter what, whether they're timed or not. As long as they're marked disposed, we remove them. And this is done all the time. Yeah. All right, so what is this gonna do? This is gonna, can we like print out the effect we're removing? gd.print removing effect. I want the ID of it, I guess. Yeah. So we should see that it's removing the stun component at some point, which is ID number, or no, this one, number 6. So we should see removing effect 6 after 3 attacks are done. We'll probably see, I don't know if there are any other effects that matter. There it is, removing, cool, yeah. And now we got an error here saying what exactly? Collection was modified, enumeration option may not execute. Where's that coming from? Battle system line 180. What is the problem here? This is its own enumerable, and we're not deleting from here. Huh. Normally you only get this when you're deleting what you're iterating over, but we're not in this case. Oh, wait. Oh, because we're not converting this to a list first, it's actually, its to next is gonna, okay, I see. So this does need to be like that. Yeah, that should fix the problem. Okay, that's a little bit tricky. So we just shouldn't see an error now. Yep. Cool, it's working. Yeah, Visual Studio is going to go away for Mac pretty soon. By the way, player has ability, so thanks. All right, I think we're good. So what did I do here? Well, this stuff shouldn't be here at all. So let's just revert this. But it's working. This now only lasts for 3 hits. And then it goes away. This is technically separate code, but it does belong for this too. Yeah, okay, great. So we're going to say allow for effects to track their, I don't know, I'm just going to say change damage mitigation % buff. It used to be time-based, but now it lasts for 3 instances of damage. Now, actually, technically, what we probably want to do here is if the damage you took is 0, we probably don't want it to count for a hit, but I'm not going to do that because I don't think it's worthwhile. And that's that. So this is finished. This is a problem for this. We're going to throw this down here in cleanup. Whoa, 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 what? What in the world just happened there? I don't know what happened. Let me try that again. Copy this over to here. I hit save. I guess that's what did it. Yeah, this looks good. So that's done. That's done. We're coming up on break time. The next one is make sure we seed a damage type everywhere so you don't counterattack a damage over time. Yeah. I need to design that a little bit. Oh, great. The whole thing just crashed. Yeah. Or wait, did it? Maybe it didn't. All right, I'm going to take a quick break and then we're going to come back and finish up some of this stuff. We're getting closer and closer to the cleanup of all of this, which is going to be more mechanical tasks, which will be a nice way to wind down for today. But for now, is it jump time? It's jump time. Hey again. Close the game. All right. So damage type. So what do we need damage type for? And it's, yeah, preventing counterattack from triggering by damage over time. Hey, Anise. Let me know if I'm pronouncing your name wrong. I'm talking to someone over on YouTube, by the way. The only person on YouTube to have chatted with me so far. Yeah, preventing counterattack from triggering by damage over time. I think we eventually want elements in the game. So there'd be like a damage info struct, which would probably have like the damage amount the source category, or like, I don't know what you call it, like direct damage versus damage over time versus maybe area of effect, and then maybe the element. I think we should probably turn this into a struct now. Because there's no such thing as just 5 damage. It's always 5 damage of a particular type. Yeah. Also, maybe direct is not what this should be called. Maybe it's like single target direct versus area of effect direct. I'm not sure. The thing in the middle is the target. What? Yeah, I think I want to convert this to a struct. So why make it a struct? Well, I'm not sure if you're focusing on the struct part or the bundling of properties part, but I don't want every single function that involves damage to take an extra 3 parameters when it could just take 1. What's a good example of that? Counterattack, I guess. So here we get the battle system, the source of the damage, the target of the damage, and then the damage itself. We're also going to need to take in now a damage type. And then eventually we might need to take in like a damage element. And it's like everywhere that you need damage, you're probably going to need the type and you're probably going to need the element. So you might as well bundle them together. Oh, the struct part. Okay, yeah. Well, it doesn't necessarily have to be a struct, but I want it to be very lightweight because it's just a holder of 3 properties. Yeah, I would probably use a record as well, but I thought that's what a struct was. Record defines a reference type, allows record class, record struct. I think a record struct is fine. I don't know. It's a points in space you're targeting. Yeah. I'm not sure if what I said totally makes sense. And I'm not even really positive exactly when we want to differentiate between direct damage single target and direct damage area of effect. Like maybe we would tend to avoid structs if I don't have very specific performance requirements. Is there a reason why? Is it just the pass by value versus pass by reference? Value versus reference. Because in this particular case, I don't really think it matters too much. I don't think it matters too much. Singular default. Okay. I'm not even sure what that reference is here. Okay, so this is a record class. Is there any other big difference here? A value type? Yeah, so if it were a reference type, that would mean I could modify it anywhere, and I don't think that's a good idea. I think this should probably be passed by value. Suppose you could have attacks that have AoE but deal extra damage to 1 unit, as in additional direct damage. Yeah, but the way that would probably be framed, the way I would probably frame that is it's up to the ability to specify the right kind of damage. All right, let's start with a record struct. Public read-only record struct. Yeah, something like this. And this would go into the battle system. New file. We'll call this damageinfo.cs. So this is going to be a damage info, and it's going to have a, what did we say? It's a float amount. What is it? Deal damage float. Yeah, float amount. So that's definitely there. Then we need a couple of enumerations here. Damage. What do we call this? Like the whole direct damage versus area effect versus damage over time. I guess I would call it like damage type, but then there might also be a damage element. Maybe basically that single target damage, but if in a cone shaped area there's someone else, they get cleave damage. I think I'm gonna call it damage type for right now. What's the game look like so far? The game looks like this. So this is the town system in the game, and you would enter an instance and you would do battle. And if you win the battle, which I think might be impossible right now. Yeah, I think it's impossible right now. At least the way I have it set up. Then you would get items in your town, and this is in your storeroom, and then your skeletons would go and restock the items, and customers would go and buy the items. So if we just put a whole bunch of these things, you can see this all working. There. Oh yeah, I think we'll just call it damage type. Builds faster than my Android app. I mean, this is a pretty small game right now so far. I think coding only started a couple weeks ago, so it'll probably take longer to build at some point. So now we want an enumeration for this. Public enum. Oh, we need a namespace as well for this stuff. How could I forget? Where did those files go? Here, damage info. I think this needs a namespace. I'm not actually sure. Namespace. Game source battles, sounds good. And then this same thing here too. All right, the enumeration here is going to be damage type, and we're going to call this direct damage, single target, damage over time, and direct damage area of effect. Or maybe just multi-target. Is there even a reason to differentiate these right now? Oh, that shouldn't set effect. That should say target. I don't know. Yeah, I don't know what we're going to have eventually. What is the problem with this, that this is complaining at me? Am I missing? Oh, I'm missing a semicolon. The webcam blocking my, yeah. I have a physical obstruction on my screen right in this area. It makes it really hard to see. Like I cannot read whatever's under the mouse right now. Although if I look at OBS, well, I guess it's blurry over there. But that's why if you ever see me start typing stuff over here, that I bump it down a few lines. That's why I do it. Damage category. Yeah, damage category might be slightly better. I'm okay with it being damage type for now. And then eventually we're going to want the damage element, which I guess let's add in, and we'll just default it to the only damage element that exists. Damage elements.cs. And maybe we eventually want to allow for many different elements, but we're just going to say element physical. There we go. All right, so now the damage info encapsulates all that information. So we have a float amount, we have a damage type, and we have a damage element. And then anytime we deal damage, we now need it to be one of these that we pass around. Oh boy, which is going to be an undertaking, but let's get started on that. So this is going to be damage info, damage, or incoming damage maybe. All right, now everything gets changed. So this is written as a struct, so it's passed by value. So if I change the incoming damage, this isn't going to modify anything else, which is totally fine. So incoming damage is going to be, oh, this should probably be named damage info. Actually, we could just say incoming damage equals damage on amount. Does not contain a definition for amount. What is it, lowercase? Oh, do people typically capitalize these? Yes, they do, and I did not. No wonder it looks weird. There. So this should be capitalized as well. And that's that, right? Except for not really. Oh boy. Yeah, not really. Because take damage needs to pass in the damage info now. I'm gonna rely on all of this stuff working correctly here. Damage info. Delete this. And put this down here. Okay. What was the warning about in my record? Parameter amount should begin with a lowercase letter? What, seriously? That can't be right. Right? Yeah, that can't be right. What's that coming from? SA1313. I am going to disable this. I don't think this is a smart idea to keep this. Style cop has a few outdated rules. Yeah, SA1313. Hey, Alt F4. Thank you for the raid. And welcome in, everybody. I am working on the rest of the ability system for Skeleseller. And I'll show off the game in just a sec. But the philosophy behind this ability system that I'm doing is just prove that we can make abilities in a game for battles. So I hope that was a good stream. I hope you're all very entertained and continue to be entertained here. And Alt F4, thanks again. Hope you have a good rest of your day. I cannot show you the game because I just broke everything. I mean, I guess what we could do is we could just git stash this for a sec and I can show this off. There's not a lot to it right now, though. What a great stream. Thanks for resubbing. And congrats on the 1 year. I appreciate it. So this is Skeleseller. The story of the game is that you are an adventurer and you're out adventuring. You're living a dream and you encounter a snake. And the snake poisons you and you start taking a very small amount of damage. Your life is ticking down. You go to town, try to find an antidote, but they don't have one and you die. And you say, that's it, never gonna have this happen again. And you start up your own town. So there's you, you're a skeleton. And these characters are just gonna wander around for a while until you actually have items in your town. And then your skeleton will go up to your storeroom, pick up the item, go to the corresponding shop, drop it off, and then customers can purchase that item. So this person's gonna walk over here, they'll buy it. And the way you get items is through battling. And so these battles play out automatically. You will only be able to pick who goes into the battle and what abilities they have. So you'll have a skill tree for them. And if you win, which it looks like this is actually going to be a win for me, then your town will end up with more items. So let's click upgrade a few times here. Yeah, so we get a bunch of items. First time I learned about the game lore. Yeah, I like it. Yeah. The sprites are all from, well, these character sprites are from a pack by Oryx, and then the world sprites are from a pack called Super Retro World. And the current working logo of the game is here, which I really like. But yeah, so that's what we got so far. And again, it doesn't look like much is going on in these battles right now. This is all just doing what's called the basic attack. But we have other abilities coded. They all look pretty much the same, and you'll just see damage numbers flying out of this. But the expressiveness of the system is what we've been working on. So yeah, welcome in, everybody. Hunker down for some coding for the next couple hours, because that's pretty much all this is going to be. So now let me pop off the stash and get back to what we were doing. So what we are working on right now is damage used to just be a number. But that's problematic because we have something like counterattack in the game. And when you counterattack, you should only be counterattacking damage that was done by attacks. So let's say you were poisoned. You shouldn't try counterattacking the thing that poisoned you every single time you take poison damage. That would be really bad because then it would be a super powerful ability. So the way we figure that out is with this damage type. So damage type is going to be either direct damage single target, direct damage multi-target, or damage over time. So we need to categorize all of the damage in the game. We need to pass this struct around everywhere, and it's gonna take a little bit of time to do. Oh yeah, and that's what I was in the process of doing, is fixing that issue, which is what, SA 1212 or something? Where is it? SA 1313, editor config 1313. This is don't require lowercase letters for records, I think it was. Actually, let's comment that out for now so I can actually see what the error message is. Yeah, and this is in records. Parameter names must begin with a lowercase letter. Oh, it doesn't know how to do this for records. Oh, this is actually a problem because I want this to be on. I just don't want it to work for records. Oh man. We could disable it in the file. Yeah, just do pragma on the record file. Yeah, I'll do that. Pretty stupid. Also, I disabled the wrong thing here. I meant to put this here. All right, so damage info. We're just going to disable this here. Suppress in source. Wait, I want to suppress it for the whole document. I mean, I guess we can just put this up here at the top. Although really it is only around this one line, so I guess it doesn't matter. It's not really a big difference. Disable it, try violating it, and see if there's another rule popping up. I'm not totally sure what you mean, but this should just address what I need to do anyway here. All right, so now funneling this thing everywhere. So take damage needs to take in the... Actually, this one doesn't. This one can just be a number. Yeah. Init only property. Okay, so there's an issue that we're going to run into, right? Which is in modifying this amount, we're going to need to construct a new damage info, which I can't say I'm a big fan of, but it would work. Can you copy a damage info or something like that? C# make record struct out of other struct. I know we can just pass in the individual parameters. And potentially I could add in my own copy function or like modify damage, which returns a new one. Check out with. Oh, with. Okay, yeah. I'm guessing that shows up here. Non-destructive mutation. If you need to copy an instance with some modifications, you can use with to achieve non-destructive mutation. A with expression makes a new record instance that's a copy of the existing one. Use object initializer syntax to specify this. Yep, okay, sounds fine. Okay, so damage info modified damage info equals this with amount equals that. Yep. Remove the unused local variable. Oh yeah, I just haven't done that yet. Okay, that looks good. Now we change these functions so that instead of taking in float damage, they're taking in damage info. Okay, that's going to break a whole bunch of other things. You have two pragma lines. Is that how it's supposed to be? I think one is to open and then the other is to restore it. So yeah, sorry, one is to disable, the other is to restore it. And thank you people who had suggested this thing. I think Pion also suggested it earlier. Yeah. There. Want to make sure I'm giving out points. There's a leaderboard, not that it matters too much. I should probably differentiate from all the people within our ranking and tell you how many people are in it. Yeah, woo points. Okay, so let's just do this. Let's try a rebuild. I don't think this is going to work. What I want to do is I want to get every single problem into the problems view so that I can just press F8 and go between them. But I don't, yeah, this doesn't work. I can click. Can I click? Okay, yeah, I can click. All right, so on damage taken takes in damage info. And for now, we're just going to say this. Oh, wait, no, this is not how this works. This needs to be a new damage info. Modified damage info equals this. This should be amount is amount times 2. Then we pass this in. But if the incoming damage is not equal to, What do I want? I don't know, the damage type. Damage type is not equal to damage type dot this, and it's not equal to this. Actually, I guess I want single target to be first. All right, if it's not equal to either of these, then just return. So these are the only things you can actually counter. Damage type doesn't, oh right, it's just called type, isn't it? Yep. Closing brace should have a new line, sure. Okay, that's pretty good. I guess if we're gonna do this, we could have just passed this in here. We don't even need to make a new one. Yeah, this should be modified damage info. That amount. Thank you, Crack. You can disable once without using restore. It won't like bleed over into all my other files. Unusual parenthesis style. Oh, this? Yeah, I don't know how that happened. I guess that's just the, yeah, that's a built-in one or whatever formatter we're using. I typically, as long as it's the same everywhere, I don't tend to care too much. Okay, so we should not be using damage info at all anymore, right? No, we are. This one needs to change too. All right, just keep rebuilding and fixing errors. So now this has the same problem. Damage info, damage info. All right, what do? You just ignore this entirely. Well, isn't that nice? Okay, great. So that one's fixed. And then the other one is what? Execute, I think. Yeah. And do you use the damage at all? No, you don't. You just check the life remaining. Okay, that's fine now too. Again, just gonna keep looking through this. We should have lots and lots of errors. So this is where we need to construct a damage info. Can you just do new? I don't actually know how that works. Damage type is going to be single target. Damage element is going to be physical. Yeah, I think that's correct. Okay. So this needs to be applied everywhere. Poison debuff, same general deal. New damage info, this should be 5. This should be damage over time. Technically, it shouldn't be physical damage, but I don't have another element in the game so far, so I'm not going to change that right now. Yeah, same thing. This should be 5. Even if I had used power, it doesn't matter because we're not trying to balance a game, so not yet at least. All right, Boulder is a multi-target skill. This is where I'm not totally sure. I'm not sure how I feel about this. What makes something a multi-target skill? Like, let's say there's a skill called Blizzard, and it can normally target 4 targets. When it targets 1, it's still a multi-target skill, right? I think we should just delete this for right now, because why do we even care about this? Do we ever care about it? I mean, we might. We might have a class that, oh, that'd be kind of cool. A class that just takes less damage from multi-target skills. Or a buff that does that. I like that idea. I want to write that down. Ability ideas, defensive stuff. Take less damage from multi-target skills. Yeah. Be a buff. Should be a cap on the amount of mobs it can affect. I think the skill can determine that. So, for example, you could have a Blizzard skill that can target, yeah, let's say 4 targets. Or you could have a skill that can target any number of targets. 12 is technically the maximum because that's all there will be space for in a battle. But my question was more along the lines of like, if you're in a 1v1 and there's a skill called Blizzard used against you, there's only one target for it to be used on. So if you had this ability, take less damage from multi-target skills, should you take less damage from it? I don't know. I don't know what the answer to that is, but I assume the answer is yes, because you would expect it. You'd expect it to be based on the type of ability and not how many targets there happen to be at the time. All right, well, this looks good. Now we need to fix basic attack. Yep. This one is going to be based on this amount of damage. Do you hold or toggle to use layers or both? I hold. Yeah. I don't really like the idea of toggled layers. On my other keyboard that I have, I use it just for numpad. A numpad, yeah. My number layer I can toggle into. And even that I'm not sure I totally like, but I don't really use that keyboard with the layers. I use it for gaming. All right, rage, what is this? Battle.get power plus increase. Okay, so let's just say float damage equals that, so that this can just be damage, so that we can replace the whole thing anyway with something like this. Depends if the damage type is spread among the mob cap or it's the same for all mobs. Does it though? Like, I know what you're getting at, but what would you expect as a player? Would you be like, oh, I only have one character here, so now that ability I have where multi-target attacks do less damage shouldn't take effect? Yeah, anyway, I could see it working either way. And I think this is true for a lot of games where something is open to interpretation and the game picked, A instead of B, and now you're just like, oh, this game works that way. That's it. So yeah, I don't think it's a big deal. The other thing is I don't think anyone's going to pay such close attention that they'll even notice this is happening. There's quite a lot going on in this game. Already backseating, don't know about the game design, but for example, in one of the South Park games, a multi-target spell highlights multiple units at the same time, can only be cast when there's the right amount. Right. So this particular game, the way that it works is the battles are automated, like completely automated. And so you don't choose abilities and you don't choose targets. So that concept of there aren't enough targets for this to work probably wouldn't exist in this game. Like I know there are other games where, yeah, you need 3 targets for this ability to work or else you can't even use it. But I don't think that would make sense to design it, an ability like that in this game. Only because, yeah, what if you run into battles where the ability can just never be used? Like, you wouldn't control that. Yeah. I don't think it'll be a big issue here. But yeah, welcome in, Fuck. All right, let's just do a rebuild again. It's going to find another, 10 errors. Oh, wait, it didn't? Wait, what? How is that possible? Also, should healing work the same way? I didn't even think about that. Heal damage. Heal damage just takes in an amount right now. Maybe it should also take in whether it's a single target heal or it's a heal over time. What's being built now? I'm working on I'm working on changing damage from just being a float to being a combination of the float it used to be, and then like what kind of damage it is and what element of damage it is. And the kind is direct damage, single target, multi-target, and damage over time. Now that I think about it, we should probably change this to target type, because whether it's damage or healing doesn't really matter. It's either direct single target, direct multi-target, or over time. So I think we'll rename this target type. And now the file itself needs to change, target type.cs. Reveal in Finder and delete the other one. What? Where did that go? There it is, damage type. Now, why is this a problem? It's not anymore. All right, so damage type shouldn't exist anywhere. Yep, and now instead of calling it these things, this is just going to be direct single target, direct multi-target, and just over time. Oh, but then it's not really a target anymore, is it? Oh no, what do we call this? That's what I meant with the target earlier. Couldn't express it well. I think it's clear enough. I don't know what you named this, but sure. Don't think I fully understand. So to hold a layer and you have 6, you would need 6 dedicated keys to hold each layer. Can't be right. So I have the main layer. That doesn't require me to hold anything, but that's true of every keyboard. Then I have numbers. So I have my right thumb key 3 for that. Then I have nav, or sorry, that left thumb. Then I have nav, which is right thumb key 2. I have media, which is my O key. I have symbols, which is right thumb key 1, I guess. So that's 5 layers. And then I have, function keys. Function keys, which is left thumb key 1. Yeah, so I have 5 keys I hold to enter different layers. They're different keys though. What about skill types? Then you could target different types of skills with buffs or debuffs. I'm not totally sure what you mean. You hold O and then you lose the ability to spam O. Yes, exactly. Yeah. Which is not a very common thing that I want to do. And if it is, I could just type out a few O's and then just duplicate them a bunch of times. And now this is my ghost impression. Target group size. It's not really a group size though, because over time still implies that it's, I guess, one target. But yeah, maybe ability type. I don't know. I think this is probably good enough for right now. So target type should probably rename to target type. And then element, yeah. Feels like you want a target type and a damage type separate. So now I feel like damage type is damage element. Over time is an effect, not actually a size. Yeah, it is. But yeah, it's, I don't know what to call it. It's like, yeah, I don't know what to call it. How it's affecting something or how much it's affecting. Yeah, category might have just been the best. Skill can be multi-targeted damage over time. That I know what you're saying, but I don't think we'd ever have a need to get that intersection of multi-target and damage over time. I think all that matters is it's a damage over time or it's not. So this combination isn't probably super important. And if it turns out to be important, we could just change things around here. So there could be a single versus multi, and then an is damage over time and not is damage over time. And maybe that's how this should be split. Maybe there should be a target type and it's just single or multi, and then there should be a is damage over time or is direct. Yeah, I can see that being helpful. Okay. All right. Let's do that then. Oh, this is gonna then complicate this too, right? So target type, or maybe, yeah, target type is either single or multi. Okay, so let's just do that, single or multi. And then what single contains type name? Is C# single a thing? Enumerable at single. Wait, if I just put a T at the end of this is fine? Yeah. All right, fine, whatever. Single target, multi-target. Yeah, I'll give you a point for that, Tegan. And then we want like, so now it's either direct damage or it's damage over time. So now what do we call that? Probably damage type. Okay. Damage type, damage type. Damage type. Direct and damage over time. All right, this is going to break everything we already just did because now we have 4 things in here. So let's go change every single reference. Oh, and I rename those things without actually, yeah, it doesn't matter. All right, and then damage type dot, what function am I in? Basic attack is direct damage, yeah. Okay, now just do that a million times. So let's search for this, because this will find a few of these a lot easier. This is stun attack. So this is damage type dot direct. This is multi-target for boulder. Yep. Damage type dot direct. And this is what? Did I already change this? Yeah, I already changed it. Oh, this one hasn't been changed. What is not null attribute? It just indicates that something can't be null here. This is a vestige of other analyzers intersecting in a weird way. So I need to, at some point, just drop this and then change how our analyzers work, I think. Or drop it and change the class to internal. I'm not sure, but I haven't gotten to that yet. So that fixed some of this stuff. There's going to be a whole lot of other things that are broken. So poison is now target type dot single, but then damage type dot over time. Yeah. So if this is target type, yep, and then we delete these. Okay, looks good, looks good. All right, rebuild that. Remove nullable, but then you have no feedback about something possibly being null. I think I'll probably just change the classes to be internal, but I'm not totally sure yet. Did this build? What? I feel like something shouldn't work here. Looks like things are working. How is that possible? Huh. All right, so then the next thing we got to do is we got to make heal damage taken a, what are we calling it? Damage info? I think damage info is probably not a good name for it if it's also used for healing. I mean, we could make a heal info struct, which is pretty much exactly the same thing, but it says heal in it instead of damage. Alternatively, we could put a like damage or healing type. I mean, these are just booleans at this point. So it could just be a boolean for is healing. Maybe we put that information into damage type. Maybe we could have direct damage, damage over time, and then direct healing and healing over time. Would that be helpful? So having damage be negative and healing be positive, while that could work, it's going to cause a bunch of weird things in other systems. Because like, let's say you have something where how do I say this? There are a bunch of ways that you could code this, and you actually could make that system work too. I think this would be clearer. I think that's a short story. I mean, imagine if you have something like a damage mitigation, you have like 10 points of that. So now any damage amount you would have done, you subtract the mitigation amount. If this went negative, when you're dealing damage, you don't want it to turn into healing. So now you need to make sure that you're capping it at 0 all the time, which you have to do anyway. Am I still a Colmac enjoyer? Is it better? I like it. I don't know if it's better necessarily. There are ways in which it's objectively better, as in there's less finger travel time, but whether or not that has an impact on your workflow is up in the air. It depends on what you're doing. Yeah, I think I want to change damage type to just have direct damage, damage over time, direct heal, heal over time. If you have 110% poison resist, you get healed. A system like that, I'm fine with. Like the game is designed intentionally such that when you over resist, you start healing from it. I think that can be cool. I just don't think that should probably happen by default because you probably run into a bunch of just kind of coding issues while you're doing it. All right, am I shooting myself in the foot if I do this though? I guess we shouldn't call it damage info anymore, although it could just be used for healing. I think I'm going to do that. Yeah, we'll just call this direct damage and then direct heal and then heal over time. You don't need spaces between these things. Okay, so let's go code that in. This is now damage info, damage info. And this is damage info dot amount. And same thing here, amount dot toString. So now wherever we call heal damage needs to be updated. Yeah. New damage info. All right, can it just fill this out for me? Yes, it can. So this is going to be 0.5 F. And damage type is going to be direct heal. I guess now that we have this here, we could just have deal damage be one function and just assume it's a heal. You don't really need both of these. I'm a little torn on that. All right, well, there's that one. Now there's this. This was supposed to be for 5 damage. Single target, direct heal, physical, sure. All right, that's that. So is there a point? I think these functions are going to be different enough where it makes sense to have 2 different functions. But we could have one public function and have both these be private. Let the battle figure it out pretty much. I think that would make more sense here. No, I don't think so. I think this is fine. I'm tackling too many different questions at once here, which is, does this make sense? Like, should this be called damage info? What do you call damage or healing? I guess a life modification, which is not, I'm not calling it that. I don't know what else you would call it. Yeah, I think damage info is fine. I just didn't like that it doesn't make sense for healing, but yeah, health change, yeah. Yeah, health change info. I could see that. I think just for succinctness, I think I'll keep it as damage. But it does make me think that damage element might need to be changed. Maybe not. Maybe this is all fine. Yeah, I'll leave it as for now. Hit info. Hit info could be pretty interesting because then if you shorten it to just hit, it's not going to make you think it's a damage amount. All right. I'll write that down. Consider hit info instead of damage info. I want to talk to Dark about that. Oh, sorry, Toby. I missed your message on YouTube from 15 minutes ago. Yeah, I don't know if you're still there, but yeah, what if the damage type is area and this is also what is reduced by the defensive buff? Yeah, that's pretty much what I was thinking about. I guess you could differentiate between area abilities and just multi-target abilities. And all this comes down to like, do we need to differentiate at some point? And I'm not sure yet. So let's just keep this code for now. I think it's working. Make sure you can't enter infinite loops with counterattack. Okay, let's go try this out. Let's give every character counterattack. Oh, wait a sec. But counterattack itself does direct damage and it can be counterattacked. I think we just need to prevent you from entering infinite loops a different way. There were technically two problems. One is something like poison shouldn't trigger counterattack. And two is you shouldn't be able to get two characters that both know counterattack infinitely damaging each other. And that second one is probably not solved by code. It's probably solved by game design. You probably just say, well, there's only a 50% chance to counterattack, and there, now it can't be infinite. Or you just limit how many of these you can do in a row. Yeah. Why not? It's fun. I think it's fun when you're the one doing it. I don't think it's fun when it happens to you. Counter damage could be a damage type. Yeah, so we could do something like that. And it's tempting. Like, do we have a damage type that is just, or do we have another thing maybe even in damage info that says like, can this be countered? But I think we're just going to change counterattack. Yeah. We'll just make it a chance for it to happen. If gd.randf is less than or equal to, let's say like 0.2, so 20% chance of counterattack. How about this? Let's do it the other way around. If it's greater than this, then return. Yeah, so 20% chance of counterattack. All right, now let's give everybody counterattack and see what happens. So you get basic attack and counterattack. And so do the enemies. New counterattack. Okay, let's try that out. So both teams should be evenly matched. Oh, wait, cannot convert from int to damage info in cleanse buff? Oh, yeah, I forgot to change this. Where is the... Oh, my goodness. Yeah, let's copy this over to cleanse. And it's supposed to be 10 damage. There we go. Nothing has cleanse, so it doesn't matter. We'll just fix a build error. All right, so create, and let's watch this battle. That was a lot of counters if it's just 20%. No, this is more normal. It's practically impossible to tell what's going on. But yeah, we're not entering infinite loops. Although with a 20% chance, the odds of that happening would have been very slim. Well, not infinite. You couldn't get infinite with a 20% chance, but you could have like 5 going back and forth. We won. We got items. Go, skeleton. Go to the alchemist. Drop off your potion. Okay, yeah, I think it's working. Consider making a record out of arguments to on damage taken. Do I still have that? I do. Hey, /G8, welcome back. Thanks again for the raid. Yeah, the multiple counters happening back and forth is not going to be a thing. Making a record out of this, I don't think we're going to need yet. And I think I originally wanted it because I was going to add in damage type. But yeah, I have considered it. So we are going to mark that as done now. Again, for those just dropping in, we're still working on Skeleseller. I mean, we will be for pretty much the rest of this year. But we've gotten a bunch of the ability system working now. So I know the text is a mess, but you can see when something counterattacks. And it's got a 20% chance right now. And we could add in any arbitrary abilities. So I could have this second character use Boulder and Mental Swiftness and Execute. Yeah, so now that middle character will have an area of effect. It has a chance on every attack to reset all of its cooldowns. And it can kill enemies when they hit like 10% life. So this one's the super powerful one. Not that you can tell when it's doing something. And it died. It died because the enemies have counterattack, and I think they're counterattacking the Boulder ability. How about this? Let's just give that one the abilities and see what happens. Let's also give you a basic attack. Does that work? Yeah, so it's doing 5 damage to everything, 10 damage to some of them. Then whenever mental swiftness shows up, it does both of them at once. And then it'll automatically execute enemies when they're at low life. We won. And low life in this case, I think means 50% life. No, wait, why'd that die? Why did that die so fast? It's possible that mental swiftness triggered itself a bunch of times. What else did I give that thing? Yeah, it must have been that. This ability has a 20% chance to be used, and when it gets used, it immediately makes all of your other abilities ready. And they could trigger this again, so you could get lucky and end any battle super fast. Hey, frequencies. Welcome. Some syntax I've never seen, such as damage info with. Yeah, that's the record struct syntax for C#. Where is the page I had open on that? Yeah, this non-destructive mutation if you want to find out more. Does that remove the cooldown of itself? The cooldown itself, this doesn't have a cooldown. This is a passive ability. So this is just always on. We could put a cooldown in here. We could say like this can only happen once per second. That's how a lot of games balance powerful effects. They say this can only happen once every so often, maybe once per battle, once every 8 seconds, something like that. Smooth progress. Figured out how to write to files and clean up directories. Nice. An AI project. What are you working on? And yeah, progress here has been smooth. I will show you the number of check marks we have. Look at my vast collection of check marks, extending all the way down to here, which we are about to check as soon as I commit this. Although this is a pretty involved commit, so let's just make sure it's looking good. It's mostly just changing damage and healing so that it passes in this damage info thing. I'm so glad we made a struct out of this though. Yeah. What happened here? Oh, yeah. This is how we prevent infinite counterattack loops for now. But eventually we may want to limit this to only be allowed once every so often. Yeah. Deal double damage on counterattack. Oh yeah, that's another thing to consider. Technically, okay, so the way this worked is you do 10 damage, and when you counterattack, it doubles. And when you counterattack, it doubles. So if you did get, I guess, super unlucky or lucky, you could just immediately kill an enemy with a counterattack chain. But that's probably not going to stay in the game. Now, let's make sure all the rest of this looks good. Yeah. This is pretty straightforward. Yeah, everything's been pretty straightforward here. Okay, cool. Let's check it all in, except for instance container. Hit that plus button. So add damage info. This is what tracks whether you have a single target or multi-target source of damage, whether it's direct or over time, etc. And it's mostly, it's not used by much yet, but counter attack did need it to make sure you're not countering poison. Oh, you know what? I never tested that. Can you counter poison? It'd be a good idea for me to test that. Behold my fields of check marks. I'll try creating stuff in Godot, but I never know where to start. I know this probably sounds really stupid, and I don't mean it to sound stupid, but step one is really just download it. And then once you have Godot, make a new project and everything. I mean, all that stuff is very straightforward. And then drag in the icon that you get. And I'll show you this. Here's exactly how I would start. Go into Godot, make a new project. I'm not going to click new because I don't want to mess up what I have. Let's go to this one, for example. Okay, so once you're in a new project, you'll be looking at something kind of like this. Click 2D scene, and then you should have an icon that just comes with Godot. Just drag it onto here, and there's your very first scene. And from here, you could right-click it and attach a script. And that will be the very first entry point into controlling your game. Once you have a script, you could say something like, okay, when I press a key, move it. When as time passes, change its color or something like that. So yeah, sounds challenging. But that is, I think, a really nice way to get to the point where you're starting to tinker with the game itself. And you'll be surprised at how quickly you can make certain things happen. I mean, other things will be harder, but yeah, just getting something to move around when you press keys isn't too bad. Getting AI to be able to respond to redeems of viewers as an initial step. I'll be programming my voice to be an input too. Oh, cool. Yeah. Link playing tennis with the Ganondorf counter chain. Could that go infinitely? I actually don't remember. So make sure you're not countering poison. So let's give this one poison. And let's see if it ever gets counterattacked. It's a 20% chance, so it should be pretty obvious if we mess this up. In fact, I'll even do this. The way we know is what we just... Wait, what? Hang on a second. It's not countering, but they shouldn't have an attack. There. Okay, if we ever see any player character take damage, we know that we messed up. Also, if we ever see the word counter, we know we messed up. Yeah, it's probably fine. Okay, yeah, I think this is working. Previously, that did not work. So let's check this in, and then let's take a quick break. All right, I'm going to push this. That is done. Yeah, so I want to get as much of this stuff done in the next hour as we can. But first, a break. Is it jump time? It's jump time. Again, for anyone who hasn't seen this, you can type join to play, and then just J and a number will jump. So have fun. I'll be back in a little bit. Also, this only works on Twitch, not YouTube. Welcome back. Close the game. Now let's race through the rest of this stuff. Actually, that's a bad idea. We're not going to race through the rest of this. This was the last stuff I wanted to do, which is adding effects to the effects. So, for example, poison would lead to some green particles or something like that emanating from your character. And I still want to do something like that. I think this can be separate. So I want to just handle the cleanup stuff, I think. Yeah. Oh, you can relocate items? I didn't know that. That's pretty good. Yeah, we'll add something to here, which is move any tasks that haven't been completed to a new issue. Yeah. Okay, so remove one entity from the effect function since it's stored in the entity itself. That sounds like a plan. Effect. So effect has these: unused ability, node source. This is only when the attached entity used an ability, right? Technically, yes. PR's ready? Okay, I'll write that down. Look at Dark's PR. Oh, man. I'm trying to think of whether I want to draw a line in the sand for this. We have this event, unused ability, and this is when this is for an effect where the affected entity used an ability. But should it ever be for anyone who uses an ability? Like, it's kind of weird, but just an example that popped into my head is like, your character has a debuff that goes away when an enemy uses a fire ability, for example. And then it's not you doing something to make this thing go away, but like, I don't, do we have that as a scenario? I'm not sure. Yeah. Here, this was based on the target having low enough life, and this is damage dealt by us, the affected entity. Counterspell or something like mana leeching. Oh, combo attacks. I never even thought about combo attacks. I don't think we should probably have combo attacks. But if I did want to do that, that would be a good answer. Counterspell though, that's an interesting thought. Yeah, what if you had something that was like a 20% chance to prevent an ability from being used? This sounds very powerful, first of all. Oh, I guess you could just have it be once every, 10 seconds or something. And then, yeah, how would you do this? Guess you need to check every entity's effects to see if they have a buff that has something like this. Counterattack is different from preventing it from happening. So imagine, I mean, the way that abilities work in this game is as soon as they're ready, they just get used. So imagine there's a fireball ability, and at 0 seconds you use it, and at 2 seconds you use it, and at 4 seconds you use it, and so on. Now imagine if this one couldn't happen because it got prevented. That's kind of what I was talking about. But I'm not even, I don't think I'm inclined to want to do even that. I'm not sure though. Percent chance of resetting cooldowns of your other abilities. Oh, what I was thinking about for combo is more like, imagine that some character has like attack 1 in the combo, and then some other character has attack 2, and this only gets used when attack 1 is used. So essentially you could like trigger a chain across different characters. So this would be resetting cooldowns of another character. But even then, it's like, yeah, I don't think that's going to be important. What with abilities that affect you? What do you mean, Pion? So yeah, the question is, can I just get rid of the target here because I know that it's going to be the affected entity? Like regain health whenever you're targeted by a spell. So that wouldn't be too bad. I think you just put that into on damage taken. I know that not every spell has to be a damaging spell, but that's probably how you'd frame it. Yeah. And then, yeah, you could just put it into this. Lifesteal, etc. Lifesteal could be an effect in on damage dealt. So the question is mostly, do we ever want these events to be triggered on character A, but the events happen to character B? And I don't really think so. Yeah, stick with what I have. Well, I agree with that, but I'm probably going to start cutting things out of here that'll make it a little bit harder to use in the future. But yeah, retarget all characters onto one enemy. But even that could probably be done a little bit differently, right? We could have a buff or a debuff that you put on all the other characters. So it's not necessarily an event system. And then if you have that effect on you, then you always target a particular enemy. I think I'm going to just delete the stuff that we have here. So on used ability, it's going to assume that it's your character using the ability. On damage dealt, it's going to assume that you are the one who dealt the damage. And on damage taken, it's going to assume that you are the one who took the damage. Yeah. So now we've got to go fix all of the errors that arise from what I just did. So counterattack is on damage taken, and we got rid of target. And so this is going to be affected entity, which is you. And now this isn't needed anymore. Hooray. Okay, cool. So that one's done. Now with this one, this is on damage taken. Where is effect? On damage taken, got rid of target. Did I do that right? Counterattack is one of these as well? It must be. Yeah, because you're countering. It's when you take damage. Yeah. Okay, that one's done. And the next one, execute. On damage dealt, so we get rid of source here. Okay. And mental swiftness is unused ability, which we assume is you. And if you are dead, I don't know how that's even possible. How would that be possible? Oh, it could be. It could be in the case that your ability killed you. Your ability might have killed you. Blige, I've gotten so much done though. Hey, related. Just sort of new enterprise job, coming from a startup, having a hard time keeping up with the size of everything. Do you have any advice? Lean on your coworkers. Not too much, right? But like talk to them about things, talk to them about how they dealt with the scale of everything, maybe get some advice on how they've coped with it, and just see, is it that unusual? You just started a job and there's an expression, drinking from the fire hose. And I've heard this at a lot of jobs where I've worked. There's just a lot of knowledge and a lot of acronyms and a lot of people you're not even sure what the function of their job is, and you've got to figure out what code am I affecting where, whatever your job happens to be. I shouldn't assume it's coding. And that's expected. It's just expected that there's a lot to learn and a lot to do at the beginning. So I think understanding if other people also felt overwhelmed can be helpful, and then figuring out how they overcame it. Because I mean, that'll convince you more than some streamer telling you that, hey, you're not alone. Although I do think you're not alone. All right, so source doesn't exist here. This is going to be affected entity. And then we iterate through all of them and call force ready. This is affected entity again. This is all that same thing. Okay, cool. And now this should build. So wait, if we're going to do this, then I should delete one of the functions that I added in. Oh, where's this coming from? Battle system. There's that. Where's the next one of these? Okay. All right, let's match these over to here. Delt only has target. Very important I get these right. And taken only has source. Yeah, there. And now there shouldn't be any more errors. However, you shouldn't be able to call this yourself anymore. Yeah, we need to make this private. And then I guess bump this down the class. Oh, whoops, that wasn't the end of the class. Yeah, that should work. All right, create an instance, see what happens. I think I just set this to poison and to counterattack. We should probably make like a proper battle. So let's give you poison and mental swiftness to let you poison two things at once. And give the enemy team basic attacks, and I guess also give you counterattack and execute. Sure, whatever. Let's give two of the characters that. I equals 2. You know what I liked about Idle Ascendants is the randomness we had for some of the floating text. I think it made it at least a little bit easier to tell when there were stacked effects, although the text was all blurry. And I don't even, can I show this off? Yeah, so there were little variations on the damage numbers. And I still want to do that eventually. Okay, let's check that in. Yeah, so removed unnecessary parameters is what this did. Cool. Removed unnecessary parameters from effect functions. Yeah, I'll just leave it like that. So these functions now assume that they affect affected entity and not just any entity. Okay, let's go look at the PR. Closes 55. Tangent overlap, ideally size only large for battle. Yeah. Okay, as mentioned in DMs, I went with sub viewport containers and 4 cameras. Important, I don't care about the floating text disappearing. We should change how the numbers are created anyway. Instances will appear a bit lower because we are in maximized mode. Viewport is reduced by title bar. I don't know, actually. I was going to say, this is fine for now, but I think that a decent amount of games do expose a windowed mode. And I think especially for an idle game or an idle-esque game that you might want that so that you're not switching in and out of full screen all the time. Town scene has a totally different structure. Extracted node paths to constants in case some scenes have to refer to them. Switch the stretch mode to viewport, which would be used with pixel art. Oh, I wonder if that's going to affect our font blurriness. Still just a draft? Okay, yeah. Town camera starts at 1. Instance camera start at 2. Some nodes had to be changed to node 2D to force nearest filtering. It doesn't work from project settings. Oh, interesting. I added new player and monster temporary sprites. Okay, instance container was changed. Decided to draw 32 by 32 tiles and place entities in the middle of them. Ignore viewport padding and a small overflow on the instances. Wait, conflicts. I haven't been checking this in, right? Oh, except for I did make some small changes, I think. Okay, let's go check this out. GHPR list, GHPR checkout 64. Be nice if I could type. I pushed a color. Okay, yeah. Git stash. I don't really even care about my changes too much. They're very easy to recreate. All right, so restructure town scene. Close this. Reload. Ooh, that's not good. This is my fault. What do we do here? Collection was modified. This came from battle system, which I'm not going to have anymore. All right, I'll have to fix this afterward. Okay. Yeah, let's run this. See what this looks like. Whoa! This looks awesome. Yeah, I actually wasn't thinking of having this be like scrollable and zoomable. But yeah, wow, it's amazing what just using graphics will do. Very neat. Where did that skeleton graphic come from? Was that in Super Retro World? Huh. Yeah, we got to figure out the font blurriness thing. We can just remove camera script. We probably want the camera. We probably just don't want it to be controlled in the same way as the player controls it right now. Like, imagine this is one room. We probably do want to pan the camera to the side when they go to the second room and so on and so forth. And I don't think there should be a reason to zoom. Yeah, the blurriness is back. Yeah. Very cool, though. Still remember the Bond land blurriness. Oh, man. That stupid saga. Okay, so in general, this is definitely what I was talking about. So this is good. The instances have dedicated spaces on the screen. I think there are considerations we're going to need for some of this. Like, what happens if you only have one instance open? Should it span the whole bottom? I don't know. We can figure that out later. I don't care about the buttons. Oh, I mean, all of the text is blurry though, right? Like even this is blurry compared to what we used to have. So we've got to figure out the blurriness thing, but that can be filed as another task. File task on text blurriness. All right, let's look at the code. Where's the PR? Here it is. Oh yeah, and then drawing 32 by 32 tiles. So for one, it's probably worth talking about this now. I think we're going to have 12 slots per team instead of 9 slots per team. It's not going to make a huge difference, and I'm not even positive we'll end up with that for sure. But I think, yeah, battles have 12 slots for each team. The reason for that was so that you could have dedicated summon slots and so that you could have parties of up to size 9. I don't know for sure you're going to want that. Party max size is 9. That's probably too much. I don't know. All right, yeah, let's look at this. So monster.png. I want to see how many things ended up in temp because I'm okay with the player and the monster ending up in temp. I think it's okay. Yeah, that's everything. Okay, that's fine. I don't mind that. So those are fine. Instance, large diff. Oh, these are the exterior sprites. So they were already in the game. World exterior atlas. Show in file manager. Yeah, I see. Okay. Could just change to a pixel font I have. Do we want that? I'm not good enough at this stuff to figure out how anything should ever look. It's about increasing font size and then scaling down the parent, but I guess it depends on the circumstances. Yeah. Yeah. There are a few different techniques we can use for that. Then Godot also had something I read a while ago about some other solution that wasn't mentioned here before. Figure this out in Jump Royale. I could move that. Yeah, possibly that would be fine. So this is another thing. For checkpoint 1, this doesn't matter. But eventually, when the player just starts out and they just have a town, we need to clear out this space. But that should be easy enough to do. We can just change the size dynamically. Okay, so instance has tile set atlas source, which is the entire tile map. I wonder if there's a way to work around that. Okay, tiny little issue here. This says Del Tails, which I'll just say nid typo. Very small issue. And part of the reason I was looking into this is that I see a background. Z index is -2, and then details is -1. Okay. Let me do the keyboard. Okay, then the town scene. Let's take a look at this. So this one changed by adding a bunch of containers. Yeah. Okay. Tile size in pixels 16, town scene path. Where is this used? Town scene path. Town scene path. Oh, it's not used. Is this used? This should not be here. Yeah. This is unused and should be deleted. And then this is better defined in town.cs since, wait. Git node instances container. This exists in the town scene, right? Yeah, and it should exist then as a relative path. Instances container, yeah. They're defined in town scene as a relative path since the instances container is a child of the town scene. Okay, monster texture. It's fine. Get parent, get node viewport. Okay, this is generally a bit of a problem. Yeah, I don't think you should ever have to rely on the parent's structure. I think whatever this is should probably be passed in. Is this in an init or something? Yeah, create instance. Create instance should probably pass in the viewport And what is this? The town. Yeah. Now the viewport is used for add child, but actually the way I think this should probably work. Oh, it can't work that way though. Huh? Yeah, I think both of these things. Well, I'll just write this here, I guess, because it's easier to leave one comment than two. So I'll say any get parent or get node calls that aren't for the local scene tree end up coupling this class to the structure of another class / scene. Instead, we should just pass in the town and viewport to create instance. Check the scene tree for reasoning. Wait. Where? I mean, I think I see what you were saying. It's that you don't necessarily know what viewport you want this in, but the town should know that, right? This is instances container. This should not be done, yeah. Yeah, I don't think this should be done this way. I I think need to access parent slot, not something inside the instance container, which I should probably rename anyway. This is, let's see, the instance container, parent slot. Yeah, then that implies that this should just be moved, right? What even happens if I go to remote? What's in instances container? Yeah, the instances container is now essentially a pointless node. It is instances view that is now the instances container. I think that's what this is pointing to. But I think this is a really good thing to internalize. If you ever find yourself calling things in another class and expecting the implementation details of that class, it probably means something is wrong. Edit after reading what you said in Twitch. I realize that this script should be on instances view so that it has access to everything it needs. Instances container probably doesn't need to exist anymore. Yeah. All right, get the monster texture, change these things around because now we have spaces in between. Get the position of the board. This stuff is fine for now. Yep. And then create instance.pressed. Why did this get longer? Oh, because the instance container path. What was that set to? Instances container, instances view. That is used for something. Why does it not show in the remote view? Wait a sec. What? That's strange. Oh, because we call create instance. Yeah. Okay. No, anything can have a script. Yeah, you can just attach a script to, well, you can't do it when you're in that view. You can attach a script to anything. All right, and then this stuff is fine too. Okay. I think that's it for changes I would need. Okay, so now this issue, let's go back to what I had here. What am I doing? GSM? Yeah, and then git stash pop. Do I have a GSP? Doesn't really matter. All right, this issue is coming from Battle System line 155. Ability update cooldown, effects call function. Is an ability deleting an effect? What? Let me copy this into here. Collection was modified. Enumeration operation may not execute. Oh, whoops. I'm looking at the wrong spot. Effects component line 61. So 28 calls into this, which calls into 61. 61 calls into this, has a callback. The callback is deleting stuff? I don't think that should be possible. Oh, it's adding the stuff? Is that why? Oh my god. Oh, that'd be a shame. Chair leg stuck around this. Good time to stretch. All right, so what's going on here? Process of abilities calls into this, calls into this. And it says collection was modified, but I don't know where. It's this callback doing it. It'd be nice if that showed up here too. Because I don't even know if it's an adder or a move that's happening. Ryman, when does your road trip start? This is unused ability. What ability is even causing this to happen? Maybe the poison ability, because it adds an effect. Man, if that's the case, this is going to be obnoxious because deleting from it is fine. We can just have an is disposed thing. But adding something with an ability. Let's take a look. Does this happen every single time? It probably does. It's not coming from poison though. Oh, there, it just happened. Maybe it's mental swiftness calling something? Yeah, it's the same stack trace. Tomorrow to Sunday. Wow. Oh, wait. Oh, fly tomorrow, drive on Sunday. Gotcha. Yeah. Yeah, back to squares. Man, this is a shame. Yeah, it's this callback, whatever this is. And I'm not sure what's doing it. Oh wait, I do know well, I know generally what's doing it. It's this. It's unused ability. And actually, now that I think about it, we only have one unused ability, right? It's just mental swiftness. Is it because we're adding this to it? It must be. All right, well, let's set this to like a 50% chance because it's probably caused by that. You can check through that and check if it's different. Yeah, I guess then I wouldn't be modifying the one that I'm using, but then I'm duplicating the memory. Yeah, this is what's causing this issue. Every time mental swiftness is used. And if I got rid of this, I'm guessing nothing would go wrong. So it's just that I'm trying to add an effect from an ability. Yeah, that's the problem. And that's only a problem because of how on ability used works. Okay, so now let's go back into effects component. So yeah, a new list here. I think this would work just fine. It's just that we're duplicating it. Yeah. It is working just fine. I don't want to do this all over the place though. There is one other way we could do this. We could just keep track of how many effects we had and iterate with a regular for loop. So if I did for this, yeah. I think this would work because we always add effects to the end. Yeah. Let's see. Yeah, this does work. Yeah, I could do .toList, but toList is the same as just making a new list. The point is that I would be allocating a new list every single time just to iterate over this so that I can handle concurrent modifications. Well, I guess let's put a comment here. Iterate backwards so we can add effects as we go. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I guess that's what they have, but without worrying about modifying the collection we're iterating over. Well, that fixes that bug. So revert this and check in this. Fix concurrent modification error. Okay. What's next? So this one's done. Sort abilities into passive and active folders. Well, that's easy. Finally, an easy task. So abilities, where are the abilities here? So passive and active. So that I think heal over time is active. Poison, rage. I don't remember about taunt. How did I code this? Active ability, yeah. So all of these should be the ones I want. Let's just make sure. Actually, we could just search like this, : active ability. It is basic attack, basic stun attack, boulder. I had those. Heal over time, poison. I had those. Rage and taunt, yeah. Yeah, so I think we'll do that. Let me just make a new, what folder am I supposed to be in? Code, Godot, Skeleseller, game. Pretty much the same folder. Yeah, source abilities. So I want a folder for active and passive. And these are all the active ones. And these are all the passive ones. Okay. Now we just need to go into each of these files and change the namespaces. Should be very simple. Is there a faster way to close all the tabs than to have to say no to all those dialogues? Because I close 1,000,000 tabs per day. All right. So namespace. I guess they're all going to be the same. We just change this entire line. Pulling the power cord. I don't even think that'll work though. Because I think the next time you boot up your computer, you would be in the same situation. Yeah, sorry. I usually say, oh, that's me who just did this, but I thought it would be apparent. But yeah, I guess some people have me on in the background. Gonna drag a million files around. Okay, so those are all the active ones. Now for all the passive ones. I don't even really know if it's worth splitting these into different folders. I think it makes sense. So this is passive. Yeah. Oh, I probably shouldn't be copy pasting because won't this break everything that's using it? Probably. Let's see. No, it actually didn't. Oh, wait. Yes, it did. Okay, these are now from a different spot. There. All right, game should build. Hey, Manna, how you doing? And I'm doing well. I think it has been a very productive couple of days. Yeah. Love the fixed namespaces and project button. Yeah, something like that would help for this. I've heard good things about Rider. I don't want to invest in a new editor, neither in terms of time nor money. And the money part is maybe up for debate. I could probably reach out to them and say, hey, I'm streaming. I can shill your editor. I trust you on that. The productivity. How are things going for you? What editor I currently use? I'm using Visual Studio Code. And I'm happy with it. I don't have any problems with it. Was I actually testing anything here? I guess this. Yeah. The abilities still look like they're working, so I think we're good here. Oh boy, look at the massive amount of stuff that changed here. In fact, I think basic attack was moved, so I think I will break instances container unless I push this code. Oh man. I should probably just undo it, right? Yeah, how about this? I'll just check in this one line. Does that work? Yeah, that works. Hope this doesn't break anything. Now we're checking all these. Move abilities into their own folders. Well, active and passive folders. Hey, it perfectly fits. Feels a lot better for C#. It probably does, yeah. Visual Studio is not going to be supported past August of this year on Mac, though. And either way, I've always just found Visual Studio to be a little bit heavy. For C#, though, it is pretty nice. The last time I used C# before streaming this time around was probably in like 2015 or 2016. Unless you count the one tiny Unity thing I did for one stream. Okay, I don't think there's anything to even look at here, right? It was just a bunch of namespaces that changed. Yeah. Yeah, that's it. Commit. Can't imagine not using Rider for that. Yeah, plus, even for what I'm doing here, I still know there are a couple of cases where Rider would help. Like, it probably would have just helped with that. And it helps auto-fix issues, which I think would be really nice. Consider moving something like process entities with abilities into the abilities component like I did with call passive ability function for entity. Maybe there should just be other systems that exist alongside the battle system for this. Probably the extension of the battle system, though. So I don't want the battle system getting out of control. And right now, it's not too bad. But there are things like process effect. This goes over every effect and updates it and then removes these. Like, I think this could be in another system, like an effect system. Does this even need a battle? No, it doesn't. Is it the same way with abilities? Because I kind of want to move those out. Wait, this has this in it. Oh, so does the effect. Yeah, that's what I was concerned about. That the effect system and the ability system would need to know about the battle. Oh, well, that's not necessarily a problem. And that would let us just clear up that code immediately. And this. To the point where this wouldn't actually have a process function on it. It would just be acting on battlers. And battlers would be initialized at the beginning of this. What else does that mean? I guess that this isn't exactly a battle system. It's more of a battle. Yeah. Yeah, I think so. Okay, well, that's the proposal here, which is, do we separate this into multiple systems? Let's try it with the ability system and see how it feels. So we'll make a new, like, ability system.cs. And let's just copy paste everything into here for now. We'll call this ability system. And we just delete a whole bunch of stuff. If has component. Oh, but this only iterates over the battlers. We could initialize the system with the battle system in it so that it can get the battlers from the battle system. This is already public though, so we could just get it anyway. Well, let's, how do I want to do this? What is the layout for this? Town contains a nav system. What contains the battle system? An instance. Yeah, so an instance would also need to contain an ability system. But the instance itself could make that. We have a battle system. We could just add in a ability system. Can I just do new ability system? I don't think you can, right? Because this is a node. No, yeah, you can. I don't know how you make one of these. I don't think you can do this, can you? Don't I need to instantiate it or something? I don't know. Let's just try this. And then add child here. We'll say get node node systems. Okay, I think that might work. And then we just need to initialize this thing with the battle system. No, yeah, this is where I'll have a problem because I won't be able to call, I won't be able to construct this like this. So we do need to add this and then call new or call init or something. Ability system dot init battle system. Okay, so public void init battle system battle system. We're getting there. Good. This should know how to save this. Good. Okay, so we would go through this, and then everything else would pretty much just get deleted. Other than this one function. Can update abilities would also need to be here, but everything else can go away. If nodes are next to each other, you should be able to do this in ready. Yeah, I'm dynamically adding this one though, so it's not in the instance scene. Although nothing stops me from putting it in the instance scene. All right, now this needs to be the battle system. And same thing here. Okay. So this is tightly coupled to the battle system. And in that sense, it might as well just be a partial class, I think. I'm not sure. Let's try this out though. It should be pretty much the same as what I just had. So I hope it works. Yep, it's working. I mean, if you look at the diff, it's clear at least why I wanted to do this. I don't want, oh, whoops. It's not clear yet. Hang on a second. I need to delete this and process abilities, this and this. All right, now we test it. In fact, I'm not actually sure how that was working before this. Maybe it was doubling everything and I just couldn't tell. Yeah, I was probably doing that. Okay, well, looks good. Yeah, so what I wanted to show is this. The diff now shows that we just got a chunk of code out of there and a chunk of code out of there. So the battle system is not some gigantic thing, and the ability system will probably never really get too much more complex than this, although it could. But this is like 50 lines. And we can do the exact same thing with the effect system. So we can make an effect system and then rename this to effect and then delete a whole bunch of stuff again. We need the same general thing we had over here in init. Cool. So delete all of that. This is pulled from the battle system. The rest of this is pretty much pointless. Yep. And then we delete all this. Fix all, good. And then, yeah, this turns into a battle system. All right, now, hi, Abby. Hi, cat. You want to come up here? Oh, you can't see her yet, but she might jump up on the desk. She's gotten a little more aware of where my attention is. So if I'm looking at a laptop or something, she'll try stepping in front of it, which I am trying to encourage because I want her to get our attention like that. Yeah, she's running around doing her own thing. Well, for those who've never seen Abby and want to see Abby, there's a picture of her. She's adorable. All right, so now in the instance, we would add this thing into. So this is going to be the effect system. And then just replace these with effect system. Okay, cool. Yeah, now we just need to delete it from over here and then we're pretty good. So there is no process anymore. Process effects is not needed anymore. This isn't needed. All right, I think I like this quite a lot. Holy cow. Okay, two things happened at once. One, the Spherophoria you raided. And two, the cat's going bonkers over there. Hey, cut it out. All right, thank you for the raid. Oh, like emptied my adrenaline glands. Adrenal glands, excuse me. Hi, everybody. I'm working on a game called Skeleseller. And actually, I was just about to test this out, which is a good demo of the game. So in this game, you start as an adventurer. Your dream was to become the best adventurer ever, but you get poisoned by a snake and there are no antidotes in town and you die. You become a skeleton. And then you figure you're going to start a shop and prevent other people from dying. So the way this works is, imagine, I only have these debug buttons right here for now, but imagine there are battles that take place. And if you win these battles, they will fill your storeroom with items. And then your skeletons will go and restock items into your shops. And then customers will buy those items. So battles give you items. Items lead to money. Money leads to upgrading your town and upgrading your adventurers that you have. And, you know, you get more workers, more battles happen, etc., etc. Will there be a big revenge arc? Actually, I was thinking the final bit of the game being that you finally get an antidote and you sell it to an adventurer, and they're just not grateful for it because they just assume that there are going to be antidotes, and that's it. Game kind of ends on a sort of a joke. But yeah, it could be that you fight that snake, although it wouldn't really make sense. I think you actually kill the snake, and it also happens to have poisoned you. If it were a boss, then it would make sense that you just died to it, right? But yeah, welcome in everybody. Let me know if you have any questions. Love the aesthetic. Yeah, so these graphics, the world graphics are super retro world, and I think they were inspired by Pokemon. I am working with an artist, and that's so Quickie Joe made this logo. But as far as in-game sprites go, I don't think we have any yet, other than the ones that I just purchased from Itch. So if you look at, I mean, it's this, but it's specifically, there's a bundle. Yeah, this. So these graphics, I purchased this bundle, and I think they said somewhere it was inspired by Pokemon or something. I don't know. So I haven't added in all the graphics yet, but some of the worlds look pretty cool. And yeah, it does give kind of a Game Boy vibe. So I like it. Yeah, so what we just did is I split off a bunch of code from this battle system, and I think I like this change. I think it just makes everything more understandable at a glance. Play Snake with Big Bad Evil, which also sends the enemies that you can battle against your town. I think I like the direction we have at least, but I do want to add in that you probably kill the snake. So where did I write this down? You win the fight. Yeah, I did say this. You win the fight. Yeah. Yeah, okay, cool. Then part 2 starts with a story of the snake that couldn't beat an adventure. That's actually pretty good. If I made a second game or something, although it would be a totally different game. That would be fun though. So this was only part of what I wanted to do, I guess, is split off the system. And I would say it's already done. Although this might make Darkstorm's merge a little bit more complicated. I think it should be simple enough. Yeah, because now we have systems handling these things. Looks good, looks good. And this doesn't need to be modified at all. Yeah, okay, let's check this in. Split battle system in 3. There is now ability system and effect system so that the battle system doesn't just keep growing. Man, I think the cat really wants me to play with her. What time is it? 4:10. Oh wow. When did that happen? I have not been looking at the time apparently. I probably should get going. I've streamed for what, 6? Yeah, like 6 hours, 21 minutes. Well, we didn't get done with all this stuff. I'm tempted to just finish this on the weekend because there's really not too much here. Do you hear those sounds? Let me take a picture of this. No. She jumped away. I couldn't get the picture. Yeah. I don't think there's so much here that I can't just continue to do this at some point. Well, let's figure out what we've got. Just take some inventory for a second. Add tasks on this and this. Retrospective. Oh, journal. I forgot to fill that out. They know you're going to take a picture. They do. Got most of the ability system done. I just have mostly cleanup tasks left. It was a very productive day. There. All right, the plan for this coming week is to finish any other foundational systems that we need, which probably means adventurers. So I'm going to put this down here. And then anything else? Why did that not work? Adventure skill trees. Yeah, skill trees will be next week. And then get the skills to actually work based on those skill trees. Then what will we have in the game? So we'll have the town system, we'll have battles, we'll have actual abilities that could be used, so we need to code some abilities. We'll have the skill trees. We need to then design some classes, I think. Yeah. Work on adventurers and then skill trees. Where's the skill tree thing? This one. Okay, then the week after, I want to launch Friday the 17th. Yeah. I want to launch the first checkpoint. And I have this written out in the design doc, which no one has access to, but I'll show you here. So checkpoint number 1 was supposed to be battles and town mechanics at their most basic. Battles didn't even need real abilities, although we probably will have them. Not a lot of content, no saving and loading, just basic gameplay loop. I want there to be enough there to feel like you can tell whether you're having fun. So if you were to just play this right now, you'd be like, okay, I guess I get the idea of the game, but it's not really fun. There's no goal, there's no real progression. It's just a bunch of debug buttons. Once these buttons have costs, I think that alone will help. So maybe not add customer, I don't know if that makes sense, but add worker could say, 500 next to it. And like, oh, I don't have 500, so I can't afford it. But yeah, right now you can just click the button as many times as you want. Oh, is this broken? Customers aren't purchasing anything. Uh-oh. That's very strange. There are items. They're just not buying anything. Can any customers purchase something? Yeah, the customers with a lot of money can. Oh, wait a sec. I think when they go below 50 that they just stop transitioning. I remember that. Yeah. We have something hard coded in here, which is if they're below 50 that they just don't do anything. I don't know where it even is. Here it is. Yeah. I forgot about that. Yeah, we got to fix that bug for sure. Oh, man. I didn't even notice. All right, well, anyway, that's checkpoint number 1. So add like a basic enough goal in the game and allow players to get to it. Then checkpoint number 2 wouldn't be for another couple months or so. And that's when we're going to have, more content, better experience, more polish, etc. And then beta by September, which is have every system in place. Yeah. All right, I'll add review the PR up here. Review the PR. I'll probably do a little bit more work tonight, but just not now. What was the other thing I needed to mention? Oh yeah, task for fix customer logic. What is this? Customer wander? Doesn't transition if they don't have $50. They should eventually leave the town though. Yes, I've got a plan. I think there is quite a lot of work represented by this plan. Then on top of that, this coming week, there is a mentoring session on Wednesday. And I don't think I have any interviews planned. No, next interview is June. And so if you've ever watched, oh man, I can't remember her Twitch name. I can only remember her real name. Juicebox Hero. Yeah. I knew it was Juicebox something. I just think of her as Mel in my head at this point. But anyway, if you ever watched her stream, then yeah, you're familiar with her. She's going to be on my stream in June, but that's not for a while. Yeah, the jump time veteran. Okay, yeah, that's it. I'm going to get going. Let's go find someone to raid. thank you all for being here. This has been very productive times. All right, who have I not rated? I've rated practically everyone in the category that I see so far who speaks English, hasn't been streaming for a while, and no, wait, I don't think I've rated. I don't know if that person's been on for 7 hours. Try not to raid people like that because they tend to leave pretty soon. Wow, I think I've almost finished off the category. Okay, this person, I haven't rated them. Baking the nicest. Oh wait, no, they're co-working. I don't necessarily have a problem with co-working. Okay, let's try this person out. Yeah. Okay. Raid. All right, thank you all for watching. I'm going to leave my YouTube channel and my Discord server if you want to join. No obligation to join either one, of course. But I am trying to grow YouTube some more still. I'll probably make another video on Tuesday. But yeah, it's been good. I hope you all have a good weekend. Thank you for watching. Thanks for supporting. Thanks for those of you who came in through the raid and stuck around. Yeah, take care.